be engaging with some amazing panelists that are going to share their journeys, their rewarding experiences that they've had within their careers, and hopefully you gain insight. Listen carefully. They have great things to tell you and say about how you take this journey forward in the workforce. And so I'm excited to have the pleasure to get to lead this panel. My name is Jennifer Dosher, and I am the director for the Clinical Experience Department here in School of Education at WGU. And I have been with WGU going on 8 years now. Prior to that, I am 100% an educator. I taught fourth grade, loved every moment of it. I was also a principal for a K through 5 building. Also had gifted and talented within my building as well. And then I finished my career at Central Office as an executive director for elementary education, and finally as an executive director for curriculum instruction and assessment for the district. So definitely loved every minute of being an educator, and I'm loving my role here at WGU. So at this time, we want to go ahead and get started and have our panelist introductions. So if we'll go ahead and start telling us a little bit about yourself, and we'll just go from one to the next person on our panel here. Uh,
Yep. Hi,
yeah, thanks.
my name is Alyssa. I currently work at the Puyallup School District, which is in Washington State. I've been there for 2 years now. Before that, I was in the Federal Way School District, also in Washington. I've been in education for about 11 years now. Last year, I was a fifth grade teacher, and then going into this next year, I'm slated to become a behavior coach, but I am going to, I'm in the process of interviewing for assistant principal roles as well. A little bit of my background in education. I started with working in daycares and volunteering through AmeriCorps in some classrooms while I was going to college to get my credentials. I graduated and became a teacher in K-5. I mostly focused in second through fourth grade. When I was about 2 years into my teaching career, I decided to go back to school for my master's in curriculum instruction, and I did that through WGU. I completed that in about 6 months in, I want to say 2016-ish area, right before I had my son. And then a couple years after that, I decided to go back to school for my doctorate in educational leadership with admin credentials. I finished my admin credentials about 3 years ago, and I have spent 2 years as an assistant principal. This last year, I decided to go back into the classroom because I was doing my research for my dissertation. So I stepped into the classroom and focused on my research for a year, and now that I'm graduated, I'm ready to go back into the field and broaden my scope and pursue some other roles in education.
Awesome. I'll jump on next if we're not going in any particular order. My name is Demetrius Martin. I'm currently the Director of Transportation for Cincinnati Public Schools in Cincinnati, Ohio, and my background is educator as well. I started out earning my undergrad at the University of Cincinnati here in Cincinnati, Ohio, did my student teaching in Hamilton City, Garfield Middle School. Once I graduated from undergrad, I moved to San Antonio, Texas, where I taught middle school primarily, but I've taught grades 4 through 12. I've also been a principal at a charter school in Southwest Houston, and I've been a director of transportation in a couple of districts in Houston as well. I'm still a Houston resident. I live in Houston, Texas. I just work in Ohio for a short time period. I went to WGU from 2015 to 2017 to earn my MBA. I earned my master's in educational leadership from University of Cincinnati, and I am 1 year into my PhD program at Prairie View A&M in Houston. That's pretty much a background on me. Just love being an educator, love being able to touch the lives of students in multiple capacities, and being in transportation has kind of helped me broaden my influence on folks in the academic environment.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Perfect. My name is Luis Aponte. I am a dual language teacher, and I've actually been teaching for about 6 years now. And my story is actually pretty interesting because I spent 5 years of my life working on my bachelor's degree in journalism in the communications field. So that's kind of interesting. After I completed my bachelor's degree, I started working at this local radio station back in Puerto Rico, my country. And even though I actually took 5 years to complete my bachelor's, it only took 5 months for me to realize in that radio station that that career was not for me. However, I deeply respect what journalism does every single day, but it just wasn't for Luis Aponte for me. And I had some previous experience working with kids from my um, uh, home church. I'm back in my country as well, so I knew that teaching was some sort of plan B for me because I actually enjoyed I'm working with kids. So I decided to try teaching. That's when I actually relocated. I'm talking about probably sometime late 2018. I relocated to California from Puerto Rico all the way to California. That's when WGU came into my life. I actually completed my master's with my teaching credentials over there while working. And then I relocated to Texas, and I'm right now in my year number 6 of teaching. And believe me when I say this, I do not see myself doing something else. Getting to impact the students, in all different kinds of ways. And in my case, in particular, I actually get to see the students growing in both languages, Spanish and English, as a dual language teacher. So I actually just graduated from WGU. It was last year, and I'm sorry, but I have to mention that I think I see my mentor here, Katie Bush. She's somewhere around here. She was my guardian angel throughout my career, and my journey through with on WGU. So thank you to her as well.
Right. That is wonderful. Jamal, would you like to go next? Sorry.
But it's saying I'm unmuted, but I can't hear.
We can hear you now.
Perfect. All right. Where'd I go? Well, my name is Jamal Hermit. I, by day, am a senior associate for everything recruitment and human resources over at a charter school network known as Urban Dove in the New York City area. We focus on transfer students between the ages, I want to say, of 15 and 19 that are trying to get back on track, and we utilize a sports-based youth development model to do it. I am finishing up my MBA currently with WGU, and I finished my bachelor's with WGU last November. So I am definitely on board for its ability to catapult us into our professional settings. I was in human resources, I want to say, in some type of professional capacity for the last maybe 6 years. And I haven't had the ability to scale the pay grades or the different capacities professionally as feasibly since, prior to graduating. So that's me.
And Stephanie, we're ready for you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm not muted. Okay, perfect. My name is Stephanie Sutherland Emerald. I actually am the teacher on special assignments and administrator with the Okeechobee County School District, so a small school district in South Florida. My journey is a long one, and it's too long to talk about here, but I will say that I started out very freshly out of high school wanting to be a teacher and had a lot of perspectives along the way. I am a WGU grad of the School of Business, specifically Human Resources in 22, and I'm really excited it right now as well. But what I do for our school district is I really work in recruitment and retention and really handle certification for teachers. So it's I spent many years in the business world working in marketing and in organizational leadership, and I really have been able to apply those things that I've learned really well here at the school district. We're doing really great. We're getting ready to start our school year, and we're just about 20 teachers by. And if you know how teachers start this year, that's amazing. So we're really doing great work here, really putting those business skills to work in education. I also have been able to obtain for the teaching certificate, so I obtained that this year. So my actual title is teacher and special assignment. I work administratively for the school district and work closely with our administrators.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie. I do think that you were cutting out there just a bit through that and had some people stating that's a little difficult to hear you. So I don't know if you can turn your volume up or if there's.
Yes, I will work on that right now.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. No worries. I think we all here have experienced the gift of technology and the amazing things it can do, but have also experienced the moments when we have to adjust some things to get it where we need it to be. So no worries whatsoever.
Can you hear me better now? Or is it still kind of
Just still a little muffled.
okay, no worries. Let me work on that. Any better? Sorry, technical difficulty. Is it better now?
um, I can hear you a little bit better. It's still just slightly muffled, but it was a little better for me anyway.
Okay, no worries. So do you want me to start over? How would you like me to proceed? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and start over so they can hear more about, ensure that they hear your background and everything. I think that's important if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of move over so I can actually use my computer speakers, which might be a little bit better. So just a little bit about me. I'm not sure what everyone heard. My name is Stephanie Sutherland, and I have a bachelor's degree from WGU. Started out as a teacher, or wanting to be a teacher right out of high school, and then just life got in the way, and I kind of went in different career directions. What I was able to do, so, was graduate from WGU in 22 with my degree in business administration, human resources, and then found a job at my local school district here in Okeechobee County, hiring for recruitment and retention, and just having a background in business and marketing and things like that. It was a great fit for me, especially with my education and human resources. So I did here just about a year. I was able to obtain my teaching certificate this year through the state of Florida. So I'm super proud of that. And also an MBA candidate. I'm currently enrolled in WGU for MBA.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, let's get started. We're going to start off with a question around interviewing. And Stephanie, we are starting with you. Tell us, what does your organization's interview process look like? Has it changed over the last year? And if so, how? And what would you say the most common mistake you see in entry-level interviews?
I see, we do a lot of in-person job interviews and kind of career fairs and things like that. I know that is a bit antiquated for a lot of organizations, but we've had a lot of experience, a lot of growth by just doing in-person interviews and career fairs. One thing I would say, just as a, kind of old school mantra, dress nicely, make sure you have a copy of your resume. I think that's really important. When I meet a new candidate, I would like to have the resume in my hand so I can take it back to administrators. It's great if someone emails me or if someone, electronically sends me, but it's great to have it in person, in person. The only thing that I was thinking as well is really from an interview standpoint, each state has different certification requirements for being a teacher, right? So just being abreast of what some of those things are. And I think most importantly, not being afraid to ask questions, because certification can be really hairy. And, to ask questions, to really lean on your school district for your expertise, because a lot of us in the schools have very large department staff member certification, and I'm more than happy to help our applicants with that process.
Thank you. Jamal, would you have anything to add from your perspective around the interview process?
Yes, our process is a little in depth, if you would. We have a we have a 3-stage process. The last stage is not only a demonstration phase, but it's usually those last communications needed with leadership to be confident in their answer before bringing it back to HR. But pretty much the idea is we first engage using platforms like Indeed, the online job boards a lot, but that works really well for the more seasoned, if you would, more the more seasoned professional. What we're seeing with our newer audience is going back to what Stephanie was speaking about, the career fairs. Now, we have to be really specific because of the level of engagement with majors like IT. But when you're coming to the education majors, a lot of the teachers want to know what the culture is like in the organization before they even engage with the interview process. So, how we've been getting a lot of traction is going to the career fairs and the community fairs and striking up conversations. Another technique we've been finding a lot of traction, or the enticement of the idea of engaging with, is those after hour, basically creating conversation space, safe spaces for education professionals to come and talk about what they see as maybe solutions. And then we find alignment there and engage with them there. Once we get them into the pipeline that way, it's pretty much okay. We screen them, and then we have a panel process where they come into the charter management office. It's an in depth conversation that aligns their personality and their ability to articulate pretty much their experience that we're seeing on the resume. Again, going back to what Stephanie says, you should always have that ready and tailored to the conversation you're preparing to have for the position you're stepping into. But that gives us a really good idea of if a candidate would fit. And then we send them on to the schools to make the ultimate decision on bringing them on board.
Thank you. Well, let's talk a little further now about previous experience. And Demetrius, let's start with you. Do you think that previous work experience provides candidates with a leg up when starting in the field? Um, and then how do you review and compare that experience on a resume? For instance, projects and or academic work versus part-time work versus internships?
I definitely think any prior experience can definitely benefit an applicant. You can always tailor your prior experience to suit where the job is. If you're looking to come into as a first year educator, and majority of your prior experience has been, say, daycare or childcare, you can tailor that to fit the job description. Student management. You have experience in student management. When I talk to folks, and I try to go to a lot of teacher job fairs to recruit for my Department of Transportation, they're like, "Wait a minute, why are you going to teacher job fairs?" Because when I start talking to teachers about student management, like when I was a high school principal, and if I was looking at a teacher's application, and I saw where they had experience as a coach volunteer, coach t-ball team, or they were a bus driver. But guess what? They have student management experience, and we all know if you can't manage your classroom, you can't teach the kids. So you always say people can use their prior experience and tailor to suit the job description. And I lost the other part of the question. I'm sorry.
No worries whatsoever. How do you compare experience on a resume? Projects versus academic work versus part-time work versus internships. How do you compare candidates using that information?
In my current role, in the transportation side, I definitely really look to professional organizations. So there are lots of different professional organizations folks can be a part of. So that really kind of helps someone rise to the top of the pile if they've been a member of professional organizations to really seek to help them, further their skills and networking, whether it's a national organization or regional. So that's something I really look at quite often. Um, Research, we don't have a lot of folks on the transportation side, people transportation side that have really do any in-depth research unless they're at the level of like an executive director or chief operations officer. Um, but you can just, again, professional organization is something I really look towards.
Thank you. Um, Stephanie, do you want to take part of that question as well and speak to us about how you all, uh, how previous experience does help candidates and how you make those comparisons for decisions from a resume? Oh, on mute. I apologize. Well, it's okay. I'll go ahead and we'll go ahead while she's trying to get that set up and taken care of. Jamal, do you want to go ahead and take part of that as well and tell us about how you all make those comparisons and decisions within your district?
Is experience, and your ability to articulate it is key, no matter the realm that you get it in. And again, that would go to really say it really is different when you're looking at the resume of someone with maybe 10 years of experience. You're looking to hope to see, okay, you went to school 10 years ago, but how much professional development outside of work maybe can I read from the resume? What kind of things are you looking to say you've maybe gotten into on your own as extracurriculars? Because our jobs, especially when we get comfortable with our profession and our feet get grounded, we start to look at how to occupy. That's the work life balance, right? We have to find other things to check into, but those things usually align with our professional selves as well. So when you're looking at a resume of someone with more experience or tenureship, that can definitely help. But when you're looking at someone fresh out of school, an internship means they could have potentially been really in the trenches of the culture or community that they're stepping into right now. For us, that is really key because we are dealing with a demographic of transfer students already. So having a jaded, more tenured perspective sometimes could hurt a more tenured candidate, whereas someone who's just coming out of maybe an internship in a similar setting, that's a leg up for them. So it really just depends, I would say, in how you have the ability to articulate first what you put on the resume, and that gets the conversation going, and that's usually the leg up. Your ability to articulate yourself in that process is going to entice us to engage with the process based on the candidate in front of us, and that's how we are going to make our decision to move forward.
Thank you. Um, our next question's in around the hiring process itself. Stephanie, hopefully you been able to get your sound going? Nope. Okay. All right. No worries. No worries. Jamal, I'll come back to you again if that's okay. And what do you expect from a new hire on day one? What is it that you're looking for in regards to that first day from someone who's new to your district?
The openness to learn is what we're going to really go with. We are all, no matter what profession we are in, industry or capacity, we remember what the first day is like, right? So we do have an expectation of professionalism, of course, but we have more so the expectation of willingness to learn and understanding that you understand that this is a new environment for you. Once we can see that that's there, it's pretty much we have the process in place depending on your role and your we're just here to assist a lot of the time on the first day. So the expectation on the first day is to come to learn and be ready to work, of course, but to also be ready to make a mistake and see that we're here to catch you and grow with you.
Great. Should staff have prior knowledge of how the company operates outside what they find on the website? So here's what they've seen, you know, visually and read about the district or the school. Is there any prior knowledge that you're seeking from new hires?
I can answer that to some degree from my
Oh,
perspective.
great.
You know,
Thanks to
definitely, do your research. For years I've put on resume interview clinics, and that's one of my biggest points is do your research. You should know the organization pretty much inside and out before you sit down for that interview. And one of the things I always recommend to folks is that you come with questions, come with a few questions you're ready to ask. And if you've done your research, you already know the answers, right? You're just trying to get them confirmed and show the interview panel that you did your research, you know what you're talking about. So definitely you should know the organization, is go as deep even to research the interview panel members. Whenever I train people or coach people on interviewing, or whenever I go up to an interview, I ask who the panel members are as I'm scheduling an interview. Hey, can you tell me who the panel members are? And if they give me information, I do a little digging, do a little calling around so I can research them as well, so that you can, kind of adapt your questions and answers and your conversation, to those people. So for instance, if I'm a military veteran, so if I know someone on my panel is prior military or has connections to the military, I make sure I speak to that so I can connect to that person. If I know, I'm a marathoner, so if I know someone is into endurance athletes, or marathon, I make sure something in my interview speaks to that, so I kind of connect to that person. So I make sure everybody on the interview panel, when they leave the room, I've connected with them in some way for them to kind of really remember me, along with knowing the organization and having done my research.
I don't know if can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Thank you. I can hear you. It's still a little muffled.
Okay, gotcha. No worries. I just wanted to add to that. I think alignment is really important. Like looking for what is the right fit for you in your career. We all know, you can want to be a teacher, but where is that alignment with administration? The people that you interview with, do you feel a connection to them? And doing a little networking can't hurt as well.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to switch gears now, and we'll start with Dr. Alyssa Sims. What's the best advice you've been given on teaching? And then what advice would you give a new teacher?
So, I can think of lots of technical advice that I've gotten as far as like best practices in teaching. If I were to pick my top piece of technical advice, I would probably say the power of a PLC and being able to analyze data with your PLC. But I think I want to approach this more from the adaptive side because teaching is so adaptive. One of the best pieces of advice I got in my very first year teaching, my mentor teacher had put like this little note in my box, and it was, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it, but it was the marigold effect. So to find your marigold, but also be the marigold. And essentially what that means is that you surround yourself with people that are going to influence you positively. Building relationships with people that can engage in a more positive conversation or conversations that are focused on productive problem solving. I would definitely say that those people are going to be a genuine resource for you and to seek those people out when you start in a new building. Others might, I kind of think of it like a storm cloud and a lot of negativity, focus on things you can't control. So, I've been on the side of that where I've kind of not gravitated towards marigolds, and I've also gravitated towards storm clouds, and you have vastly different experiences in both. So, I found that when I had that more negative mindset, it was the fast track to burnout. And finding a marigold is just so important. And but also take on the perspective of you're also a marigold for somebody else. So think about the influence that you have and the mindset that you have also seeps out into other people. Now that I've been in the field for a while, I would add on to that advice, and I would say, being a marigold doesn't mean that you're experiencing or delivering any sort of toxic positivity. It is okay to experience problems in the field, and you will experience problems in the field, but the mindset that you approach a problem with is I can solve this problem. I can use my persistence. I can use collaboration. I can be creative. I can focus on what's within my control, and I can solve the problem. It's not that the problem doesn't exist, but there's things that I can do to address it productively.
Thank you. And let's move to Demetrius. Same question to you, and then we'll move to you, Luis, next. On the same question again, what is the best advice you've been given on teaching, and what advice would you give a new teacher?
For me, probably some of the best advice I was giving as a new boot teacher was to kind of keep like a keepsake box. My wife calls it a mommy box. And basically, it's just a box that you throw all those memories in from your students, things that really make you smile as you remember. And I still have my box. I still have my mommy box to this day. I haven't been in the classroom since 2013. But to this day, whenever I hit, some hard times or things are difficult, things are challenging, I'll go back to that mommy box and I pull out those little mementos from my students over 10 years ago. Wow, I feel so old. I pull out those little mementos from my students, over 10 years ago to really remind me why I'm in this profession and why I'm here to serve my babies, serve my students, and to really kind of keep me grounded and help me, stay focused.
Yes. Well, the best advice. One of my beloved mentors once shared a very, valuable advice with me and a very valuable lesson with me that may sound a little bit too simple and maybe a little bit too cliche, but it's the following. Make sure that you're having fun. Just make sure that you're enjoying your career. This is one of the best careers out there because you get to leave a huge impact on children's lives. And I can personally, speak to other future elementary teachers out there. Just be creative, be fun. This will sound funny, but I actually own like 5 different wigs because those are some special characters that they come in into my classroom just, for social studies, for math, for science. But one of my top characters is probably the crazy math guy. Now, this guy only comes out for like 5 minutes during the exit sleep or something like that. And no, that's not me. That is me. But the kids don't know that. I'm kidding. And, basically he comes out, I'm having fun. They're also having fun. For example, from the beginning of last school year, I actually noticed that Alan, and, he was a very bright student of mine, was reluctant to participate a little bit in class if Mr. Aponte would ask him. But then when the crazy man guy would say with this crazy Albert Einstein here, "What's your name, little boy?" And he would go, "Alan, Alan, you shall be the one to participate in class." Whenever I actually did stuff like that, and if the crazy math guy actually asked him to participate, he would actually have fun, and he would not be reluctant to participate. So that's just incredible. And believe me when I say this, when you start having fun in the classroom, and then you will see how the students will actually be having fun as well, because you guys are matching each other's energy all the time. And when you see the student having fun, you will enjoy your career, and obviously, you will have a huge impact on kids' lives.
Oh, some wonderful from all three of you things to glean. I hope you all were taking great notes there because that is all three of you provided some great insight to how to approach that. And we're going to come right back to you, Louise, and Alyssa, then you'll be next. What is your approach to classroom management, and how do you build rapport with your students?
Really good question. You know what? Building rapport with your students is probably what are the most important things that you'll do? And this is one of the most important steps that you'll take even before teaching. You know, I can have the best lesson plans out there that you love it, your principal loves it. I can be the first one early in the morning at school. I can be the most likable teacher that comes with a Starbucks coffee each morning. But if I don't build good and healthy relationships with the students, I'm just not going anywhere. It sounds tough, I know, but I'm not going anywhere. And I actually once heard this quote from someone in a TED talk. You know, she was saying that the kids will not learn from someone that they don't like. And that's just completely true. I've been doing this for 6 years now, and you know, I realized that we need to have good relationship with the kids, and those good relationships come hand in hand with a good classroom management system. Now, I've been blessed to have a pretty good, classroom management system over the past 6 years. Let me knock on wood. Is this even wood? I don't know, but just in case. Um, and you know, nobody's perfect. I could probably grow in some areas, and every year I actually learn something different. But here are my top 3 classroom management hacks. For example, number 1, it's extremely important to establish your expectations from day one. You know, you can even create this short list, and obviously using the input of the students. And by doing this, you're actually already fostering collaboration among the students as well. So a short list of your expectations since day one. Number 2, it's incredibly important to start building good relationships from day one as well. And how do you do that? Just make an effort to learn their names, their hobbies, their interests. Just make it personal. It's just so incredibly important. And number 3, it's really important that when it comes to actually, it's actually really important to be careful with not embarrassing kids in front of the other students. Whenever you're actually ready to discipline, just make sure that you do that privately. You praise in public, but then whenever it's time to discipline, just make sure that you're doing that privately, because they're also human beings. And the same level of respect that you're expecting from them, they're also entitled to the same exact level of respect.
Thank you. Alyssa?
Yeah, so I couldn't agree more. I am definitely like somebody that is really huge on starting day one with relationship building and just building that community, because in order to have a productive classroom environment, you need to have a certain level of trust with your students and between the teacher and student to student. So prioritizing that relationship building and community building on day one is super important. My first week to 2 weeks is usually dedicated to community building, expectation setting, things like that. I would say that students can also sense your authenticity. I'm typically working with intermediate elementary kids, and 5th graders could be a little ruthless sometimes. So they can sense when you're not being authentic with them. I would say that somebody that's just seeking compliance is probably not going to hit it off too great with 5th graders. So I would always try and start the year with some community circles. I would usually try and keep community circles up throughout the entire year, and it wasn't necessarily instruction based. It was usually what your interests are. Sometimes they would be restorative. If there was any sort of issue that occurred in the classroom, it would be a class conversation to address and show them that I'm also prioritizing their social and emotional needs in the classroom, not just brushing problems under the rug. I would say another strategy I used is incorporating a ton of student voice in the classroom. So that would be seeking out feedback through surveys or through informal conversations, just like playing games with them, learning a little bit about them, incorporating their interests into instruction whenever I can. That's really important, because when they feel heard, I found that had a huge impact on their willingness to like engage in the instruction, because they felt like their feedback was heard. Whether I use the feedback or not, just say like, I heard you, this is what you said. That was a big thing. I think just being really genuine in your interactions with kids and being genuinely interested in what they're interested in and getting to know them. It's okay to like take a step out of instruction for a minute and like follow a funny joke that they said, or say, oh, that was pretty good, that was a good comeback, or whatever it is. Just have fun with it. Research shows that when students have a sense of belonging in a classroom, that really impacts their learning. And I think, as a teacher, you want to have a sense of belonging too. So developing those relationships with kids. I do want to be careful with that though, because when I say developing those relationships, I don't mean like you're not looking for friendship. It's not trying to be their friend. It's you are trying to develop an authentic classroom community where you can persevere through struggle and trust each other and like develop these connections that you can use to have a greater impact in the classroom. So, just bring out the light and joy in the classroom, develop your relationships, be authentic. Still remember that you're the teacher and you're holding them accountable to their work, but have fun.
Amazing advice from both of you around that topic for classroom management and that building rapport that relationship piece that is so essential to a successful year with your students. Alyssa, I'm coming right back to you for a moment to ask, what advice do you have to avoid burnout as a teacher? We know that we hear about this, and we know that the teacher, you're day in and day out, right, engaging with those students. So how do you avoid burnout in that role?
Yeah, I kind of referenced burnout in one of my previous questions. The marigolds is definitely a big thing. I think surrounding yourself with people that can hear you out and hear your frustrations, but also help bring you into the light and see the joy in the classroom. Also referencing the previous question, I think when you just have fun in your work and you develop these relationships and you have a genuine interest in seeing these kids succeed, it can really help avoid burnout. But I heard it so many times when I first started teaching. It was set your boundaries and stick to it. It's good advice. I mean, my first year, I have to admit, I wasn't great at following that advice, but by my second year, I realized that it wasn't sustainable. And what I started doing was I would just leave my computer at school at night. I knew that my brain was not ready to engage in grading or planning after school. So I would reserve a little bit of time before school to come in and do my planning and make sure everything's prepared. And I went through everything. And then I didn't trust myself not to do it. So I left my computer at school. I wouldn't even take it home, and it kind of forced me to not do the thing. And then I just signed myself up for things after school that would keep my mind off my to-do list. So I'm a pretty athletic person. I would sign up for like tennis classes, or I got real big into CrossFit. So I found lots of friends that I could engage with and take my mind off of my work and be doing something that kept me active and busy. And then I get to go home and just spend time with my family, with my kiddos. So set those boundaries and be and just stick to them.
Some phenomenal strategies that you spoke to there. Demetrius, how would you answer that question in regards to your advice for avoiding burnout as a teacher?
Definitely to, kind of piggyback on what Dr. Sim said, set those boundaries for yourself and hold firm to them. For me, I did the same thing my first year in. I was just everywhere. I was chairing events, and I was co-chair, and I was coaching, and I was doing all this stuff. And luckily for me, I had my wife there to kind of say, "Hey, buddy, pump the brakes." So, she was really kind of my check valve to kind of say, "Slow down. You're spreading yourself a little too thin." But then kind of as I got into the flow, kind of got into my groove, being a classroom educator, and kind of learn what my boundaries are, what I couldn't do, what was timely, what was kind of appropriate for my schedule, what wasn't. It kind of leveled out for me, and I figured out kind of what worked out for me. But definitely set those boundaries. I definitely, as I speak to folks and coach folks, I say you definitely need to sit down. I always recommend sit down and write out, what you need to do to kind of maintain yourself socially, emotionally, to rejuvenate yourself. Because we always kind of hit those patches all the times during the year where we're just spread super thin. Things are crazy. We're doing a bunch of different things, and sometimes you have to kind of just step back and take a deep breath and go, okay, where am I at? And let me kind of reposition myself. Where am I going? What do I need? Where would I need help? Where do I need assistance? So that you don't burn yourself out. And as over the years going out to different job fairs and different recruiting events, I've always told, incoming prospective educators and senior educators, kind of broaden your experience, co-chair some different committees, different events, get some different, PD in different areas. So if you ever get to a point where you're burned out in the classroom, or if you're burned out teaching that specific subject, you can kind of shift. You kind of shift your attention somewhere else. Go, okay, something new, something kind of new and inventive, and then maybe come back to that later on once you feel like you're in a better place. And I always use myself as an example. Kind of once I started getting to the point where I was kind of starting to get a little in the classroom again. I always love it. I love engaging with my babies every day. I kind of feel like, okay, I got this. I'm ready for the next challenge. Because I had a background in my commercial driver's license, I looked at the, transportation side of things and said, okay, well, maybe I could do that, and kind of, transition into that. So I still get to touch the lives of students and influence students, but doing something that allows me to have a little bit more influence and kind of be a more broader influence on students and other educators throughout the environment.
Right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question. This will be our last question, so we give an opportunity for any of our attendees to ask questions as well, if they should have some. This is for all of you. Any of you can answer this. And Stephanie, if you're able to come off mute, we'll start with you and then move from there. But what should aspiring professionals be focusing on right now as students or even new graduates to help them be successful in their job search?
I don't know if you can hear. I'm not sure.
Yes, we can
Oh
hear
my
you.
gosh, you're kidding. Okay, it took a phone call, guys. That's how bad it's been over here. Sorry, our building's under construction and things have been crazy. Um, I think one thing to just be prepared professionally is, as you're a student, it doesn't hurt to really stay abreast, like I talked before about certification as well. The state, I know in the state of Florida, we're changing things all the time. We just came out with a new teacher apprentice certificate where teachers that have students who are in an education program and have 60 college credits can move forward and actually get a certificate. So the way that states are changing so quickly, I think that's really important from an education standpoint, because you might not be able to teach today, but next semester you might be able to teach, right? So it's just something to really stay on top of. And I think, again, like we talked about, and I know we touched a little bit, Louise touched on it too, is just being super engaged with your network, right? Building that relationship, building that community circle. If you're a student, let principals know at the school, hey, I'm a student. If your children go to a certain school, make connections with the teachers, make connections with the paraprofessionals, even the secretary, right? They say the secretary is always a person who runs the school. So, make that connection and just let people know I am a student of education. I'm looking for a job. Again, we talked a little bit about alignment. I don't know if anyone heard me, but having that alignment, having that support behind you, I think in any job, your first or second year really sets the tone for how things will continue on in your career. So that's would be my tip, and really apologize about my technology issues.
Hey, not a problem. We hear you. It's excellent right now. So,
Thank you.
just to add to that, what strengths or qualities do you think have helped you the most in your career?
I think adaptability, I think adaptability as an adult, like I said, as a high school student, I wanted to be a teacher and my life took me in another journey. And I've come full circle now to work back in education, but just being able to adapt and go with the flow, really understand that there are sometimes places that we're going to excel and do really great. And then there are going to be times when things are going to be a little tough. And how do I adapt as a professional? What do I do? Do I go get an MBA? Do I change a career? In education as a whole, I know for our school district, I can say that we are full of career changers. We are full of veterans who want to be teachers. We are full of first responders who want to be teachers. So, it's always just be adaptable, be open to change, take a chance, take a risk. If education is a passion of yours, I'm not going to say my age, but I've got into education a little bit late. But I love it. And I love the things that I see happening in my community and in our schools. And it's great to have my children in schools that I know that I'm helping to staff with high quality educators. So again, adaptability would be my number one thing.
Thank you so much.
Well,
Louise, do you want to go ahead and answer either one of those questions? What should
Yeah.
they be focusing on now, or what are the strengths and qualities that you feel you most impacted your career?
Yeah, well, one of the things that have really helped me in my teaching career is probably that I'm always willing to learn. Having a growth mindset is just essential, especially if I'm a teacher. Sometimes we're credentialed, we're professionals, we think that we know it all, but that's not the case. And other leaders in my life have often mentioned this quote, and they say that when you're a teacher, you end up learning way more than the students. Let that sink in for a second. You end up learning way more than the students, and that's because you're constantly learning every single day. Something new. You're learning how to connect with your students. You're learning how to connect with your peers, with your principal, instructional coach, and of course, most importantly, you're actually learning how to connect with your parents as well. So every single day, you're constantly learning, and having a growth mindset is just essential. Our teaching contract says that we actually work for 187 days or 190 days, but you end up learning like 360 days because we're just constantly learning, especially if we're teachers. So having a growth mindset, that's one of the most important things for me. And it has been something that has really helped me throughout my career.
Thank you. Jamal, Demetrius, or Alyssa, any of you have anything to add to what we've heard on that question?
For me, I'd say definitely, kind of piggyback, stay abreast of the latest happenings in your field or curriculum or your area of expertise. Something I always recommend to folks, whatever district you're in or you're interested in going into, pretty much everybody across the country records their board meetings now. So you can go to their district website and pull up the board meeting and watch it. While you're washing dishes or playing with the kids or doing laundry, just have that board meeting playing and be kind of listening in on it. So that when you go to that interview or you're trying to get to that new promotion, new job, you kind of speak to how your skills, your abilities kind of align with the district's plans. So you want to be able to speak to the latest initiative for primary grades or secondary grades or athletics or DEI, and if you go into interview and kind of speak to that, well, hey, board meeting, yada, 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 they spoke to this initiative that's going to start school year, yada, yada, that really aligns with my area of study when I was working on undergrad. And if you can really speak to that, you'll knock the interview panel socks off. They'll really see that you're really paying attention and it really aligned with from the top 10,000 foot perspective all the way down to your classroom and your students.
Yeah, I would just kind of add on to that. I think, growth mindset has been spoken about a couple times already. I truly think that is the best thing that you can do in the field. I'm the first person that will sign up for any sort of professional development that is offered anywhere. I got my doctorate before I turned 30, but it wasn't because I wanted the title or to be called doctor. I just genuinely wanted to research and learn more. So I think that being able to put yourself out there, any sort of professional development that's offered. But I also think that there's such invaluable resources in your building and through the people that are in your building and the connections that you make, which has also been mentioned. But something that I really do in the field is I intentionally seek out perspectives that are different from mine. Whenever I'm trying to solve a problem, I really believe collaboration is the best way to get that problem solved. So I seek out people that are different from me, that might have a different opinion, diverse perspectives, and then that can really help me learn a lot more about the situation, learn about other people's backgrounds. So yes, seek out the PD, take advantage of your resources, but also you've got some amazing resources in your building. You have an amazing community of educators wherever you're at. So use those people and learn from them, and always approach any situation with that mindset of there's something to learn here.
Thank you, Jamal. Do you have anything to add before we open up for questions from the group?
I think I heard everything from alignment to professional development, continuous learning. Uh, that sums up not just entering good advice for someone entering into education, just anyone that's entering into the workforce. You might choose a different profession 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I believe that everyone here just dropped like some serious gems that could carry you along the way. So no, I would just say keep consistent, right? If you keep consistent in understanding where you want to take what it is with your profession, where you want to see yourself, whether it be inside the classroom, inside administration, just know that you're constantly going to have to ask yourself the question of where you want to be, and then create those steps for yourself. And you can't do that without any of the tools that my fine fellow panelists have given.
Thank you so much. I agree. There's a lot of gems that can be taken away. I liked how you expressed that can be taken away from today from all of you. But we want to open up the opportunity for you to ask any questions. Anthony, I'm not sure if we had any in the chat that we need to speak to, but we also can allow you, Anthony will be happy to take you off of mute and allow you to ask the question live as well. So we just want to open it up these last few minutes for any questions you have for any of these panelists.
Yes, so if you would like to take yourself off mute, go ahead and raise your hand. You should be also be able to have the ability to unmute yourself as well. Any questions?
All right. Well, it sounds like you all provided a really amazing a plethora,
Oh,
what I would call a plethora. Oh, do we hear someone?
yeah, so we do have a question. So
Great.
from Kelly, um, from a behavioral perspective, which is something I'm really passionate about. How do you maintain boundaries when you're the only behavioralist in the school and everyone is counting on you specifically to help in multiple
Gabby
areas?
said you bought me a
And if you're
smoothie.
mute,
You might want to make sure you're off of mute if you happen to be. Thank you. All right. All right. Who would like to start in on that?
I guess I can jump in a little bit. So I've
Great.
been on campus for a while. Kind of just build off what Dr. Sim said. You have to set those boundaries. You have to set those boundaries professionally as well, with and of course you do that with the assistance of your leadership. Say, hey, look, I'm getting pulled a million different ways and, it's all legitimate, but I can only do so much. And again, if we all been working in a public school setting, everybody wears multiple hats, and that's one of the ways people get burned out so quickly is, you're pulled a million different ways. So you have to look at, what your skills are, what the needs are, your students, your environment, and kind of consult with your supervisor and set those boundaries. Like, hey, I can only work at these schools or working on these cases with these students or in these time periods in order for me to provide students with the service they deserve. I can't do it all at once. If, we try to do everything at once, you're going to give everybody bad service. I'd rather give less service and better service and good service than everybody's bad service. So that's how I would tackle something like that.
I could add on to that as well. In my role as an assistant principal, I was actually in a situation where I was the only behavior support. We didn't have the rest of our admin team for a good couple of months. So the thing that I had to do in that situation was just get it super clear on what my systems were and communicate it out to the entire building. So like everything from this is how the steps I take when I respond to a radio call. This is this is my menu of options for like restorative approaches or consequences or communication to families. and teachers. Like, I just had to get extremely clear on what it was going to look like and make sure other people knew, with the exception of, like, you know, behavior is ambiguous. There's a lot of gray area in there. So, to, you know, perfect world, these are the steps that I would take, but also know that it's so contextual. Things could be subject to change. So that was kind of the approach that I took. And also, you know, you've got some amazing educators in your building. I really prioritized also coaching up tier 1 management with my teachers. So focusing on that relationship building and behavior management strategies can tier 1 support that behavior, so you don't have as many like tier 2, tier 3 things coming up.
And I know we're at time, but we do have 2 questions in the chat if we can answer them fairly quickly. This question is probably addressed to you, Dr. Sims. I'm getting my master's right now through WGU. If I pursue my doctorate, will I be forced out the classroom? My passion is for kindergarten. Do you think I'll get pushed into older grades?
Oh, absolutely not. So I got my doctorate and I chose to go back into the classroom. I really felt like it would be useful for my research. Um, you know, I'm kind of at a point in my career right now where, you know, doors have been opened and I'm choosing. I have the luxury of choice, essentially. I get to pick kind of where I want to go and where I want to put my efforts. Um, I don't think that you would be forced out of the classroom by any means at all. I think that actually my students thought it was such a cool experience to see their teacher going through the program and doing the research, and they were super interested in it. So I think you add a lot of value to the classroom, and you can be a leader in your building in lots of different ways that still keep you in the classroom. As far as your passion is in kindergarten, I don't think you would be pushed to older grades. I think that, you know, I know a ton of amazing leaders that have gone on and done amazing things and they were kindergarten teachers. There's lots of value that you can add to conversations. So, you know, don't feel forced out of the classroom, and wear your kindergarten hat with pride.
Thank you for that. John has a question. I'm gonna take you off mute, John.
Thank you. So, Demetrius actually works in my future district. I'm starting this year. And we've got quite a few different roles here. So I'm wondering, as someone that's looking to maybe serve students in one of these vast roles in education, do you think it's better to learn about a lot of different operations in a school environment, or to focus on one thing?
Ooh, it really depends on you and kind of what you know, where you want to go, what you want to do, kind of what your focus is. It really depends a lot on you. Like I said, you don't want to spread yourself too thin. But I consider myself a jack of all trades, but oftentimes that can mean you're not really great at anything, right? So you just have to be focused and again set those boundaries and really decide what it is you want to do. I would definitely recommend you kind of dip your toe in a couple different areas and see what kind of really speaks to you, and definitely talk to those more senior educators, senior folks in the field, so they can maybe say, give you some different areas to look at. I hope I kind of didn't really answer your question, but kind of did, sort of, kind of.
No, just find a few that you're passionate about and learn about those. I appreciate that.
Awesome.
All right, we do have another question in the chat. So, as a third grade teacher, I got my master's in curriculum instruction to make a more powerful impact. I have not seen many opportunities for growth in my school district, so I recently relocated. What is your advice on seeking out these opportunities for growth?
I jumped on that one, Hank, in the chat, just to let Morgan know, I work in a very high growth school district. We have 3 new principals going into the school year. So I think it's like finding the right fit for you, talking about alignment, how we did earlier. And also, when you do your interview, make sure that you bring up with administrators. Let them know like what your career goals are. Again, network, find teachers that can support you, or maybe administrators in your community that also can give you some great tips on how to further your career in that direction.
I would say also networking. I think when you're new to a district, like I spent my career in Federal Way and then I moved to Puyallup recently. The biggest thing that I had to do was make my intentions really clear on where I saw my career going. And also, you know, getting to know people and letting them know your ideas and how you want to impact the field and support the district. So networking is really important. Make your intentions clear. Um, and you know, you have great ideas that you can share, and maybe you can be the person that is creating this opportunity for growth in the district. So you know, do your research, stay current on what's happening in education, and you can be that person that's maybe taking the lead on something new that's happening.
All right, so it does look like we do not have any more questions in the chat. Just going to check to see if anyone else has their hand raised. And if you have any questions, please let us know while we have the panelists still here. Right. It looks like the questions have slowed down, Jennifer.
All right. Well, good deal.
All right. So go ahead.
Go ahead. I know you
Oh,
were going to speak to one component, I believe, that you had at the end, I think.
yes. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. Give the panelists another 1 or 2 minutes to share any information they have about any opportunities in their school district or anything that they have going on. Also, the recording will be going out this afternoon, so please be on the lookout for that. And I'll share the panelists' information, their LinkedIn, and information about their school district in that recording as well. We'll go ahead and start with Dr. Alyssa Sims and then move through our panelists in alphabetical and then finish. Thanks.
I'm sorry, I can't be much help to you and on that side of things. You know, I am in Puyallup and there is opportunities there, but I'm not necessarily the person to talk to about it. But I'm always open for collaborating with people. So if you have anything that you would like to, you know, collaborate on, ask me questions about, or any way that I can support you in your field, my email is open.
Demetrius?
Yes, my district, Cincinnati Public Schools, right now, our Human Resources Department is doing what we call Walk-In Wednesday, where they have a room space set up for anybody who can walk in on a Wednesday. I believe it's pretty much all during the mid time of the day. If you go to our district website, you can find the information or reach out to me directly, and I can connect you with that. The Walk-In Wednesday, again, stay abreast of what's happening on our district website, current positions. Again, there's always opportunities in different departments. So just reach out and I'll help out any way I can.
All right, that's great. Luis?
Yes, well, I'm actually working with the Fort Worth Independent School District, and I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of positions open, and I can speak personally with my school, and I was just I'm talking this morning with the principal that there's actually like 4 positions available. You know, we're looking for dual language teachers. We're also looking for ESL teachers as well. So there's always positions open, and the Fort Worth ISD is actually a pretty huge school district. There's over 65,000 students. So yeah, there's always open positions, and I actually enrolled my email over there. So if you guys have any questions for me, anything from my wacky strategies, from the crazy math guy and stuff like that, of course you can just contact me, reach out to me, and if I can be of any help, I'm here.
You did say Fort Worth ISD, Fort Worth, Texas?
Yeah, Fort Worth ISD, Fort Worth Independent School District in Texas.
All right, great. And Jamal?
So we are a charter management network we just got approved for our 5th school. So there's going to be a lot of growth within the network over the next 4 years when you're talking about room for new, fresh out of school educators or educational professionals. but also you're talking about individuals that are maybe focusing on going back to a school for special education or STEM specifically. Or special education, or I could get you hired, man, maybe tomorrow if everything aligns. There's such a need for special educators, and I'm sure everyone here can. It's not just in New York City, it's nationwide, but we're always looking for special educators, individuals looking to go back to school. We have tuition assistance programs and partnerships to assist even if you're not eligible for tuition assistance for our newer staff members. But the idea is if you're interested in education and you can see yourself working with an alternative set of teenagers in the New York area, my email, I don't know if my email is showing, but jhermit@urbandove.org. I am the point of contact for everything recruitment. I am your guy. I can start the process and the conversation.
And Stephanie?
Yes, I have shamelessly filled the chat with all of our links to our school district. So you'll find our Facebook page. You'll also find our LinkedIn page. I will happily drop my LinkedIn page as well. I am doing hiring. So I do know what openings our school district has. So we primarily are looking for elementary educators. That is where our biggest need is. ESC as well. Also, we have a great opportunity for a music teacher. So it's been very rare that we have that opening and that it's been there for so long. So it is a music teacher in one of our elementary schools. So we have a lot of job opportunities. I also linked our career page in the chat as well. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to help any way I can facilitate Zoom interviews, in-person interviews. I also put in there that, it's 84 degrees here, like every day. So, I mean, I'm from Indiana originally, so I live in this beautiful place, and it's just, it's life-changing, to be honest, when you don't have to shovel snow and, so yeah, so hit me up, email me, text me, call me. I'm sure I can find a spot for you.
Oh, thank you.
Some Anthony, I don't think we have any more questions, or I think we've heard from everyone in regards to what they do have available. So please check out the information that you heard and the links that were dropped in the chat there for you. And Alyssa's open invitation to collaborate with her. As well, Luis also gave the same call out for collaboration as teachers. So just some great information and gems that you took away today, and it has been truly a pleasure with each of you here on the panel. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days, your busy schedule, to come and speak to these students and share your journey first and foremost, but also give them some tools to help them in their tool belt as they move forward. So thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and we wish you the very best as you move in your journey to find a role that fits you in the field. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for everything. I appreciate it.